The monsters in our oldest stories might be more than just fiction. We are about to journey through 30 ancient legends of creatures that could have a foundation in truth. You will discover the hidden evidence from fossils, historical records, and eyewitness accounts that suggests a thin, blurred line separates myth from reality. What if the terrifying kraken was inspired by a real deep-sea giant? And how could a simple elephant skull create the myth of a one-eyed cyclops? Which legendary beast do you think holds the most surprising truth? The deep, cold waters of the North Atlantic held a terror so profound it was whispered about for centuries. Norse sagas spoke of the kraken, a beast of such immense size that its rising body was mistaken for an island. Its long, slithering arms were said to encircle a ship's hull, crushing the wood to splinters before dragging the entire vessel and its screaming crew into a watery grave. These were not casual campfire stories, they were the genuine fears of men who braved an unknown ocean. Bishop Erik Pontoppidan, in his Natural History of Norway written in the 1700s, collected these sailors' tales, describing a creature so vast it could create whirlpools and devour the largest whales. For generations, this was accepted as the monstrous truth of the deep. But what if the truth, while still astounding, was slightly different? The legend of the kraken finds a startlingly plausible source in a real denizen of the abyss, the giant squid. For centuries, evidence of these elusive creatures washed up on beaches, their bizarre bodies and tentacles bearing an uncanny resemblance to the descriptions of the monster's limbs. A giant squid can grow longer than a school bus, with eyes the size of dinner plates and powerful, sucker-lined arms. Encounters with such a beast in the foggy, chaotic midst of a storm would be utterly terrifying, easily transforming in the retelling into a mythical, ship-destroying leviathan. An even more formidable candidate exists, the colossal squid with hooks on its tentacles, a creature that seems ripped straight from the darkest seafaring legend. The kraken was real, not as a single mythical monster, but as the terrifying, real-life giant and colossal squid, their very existence proving that the ocean's depths hide wonders and horrors beyond our ancestors' wildest dreams. From the terrifying depths of the ocean, we journey to the sun-baked islands of the ancient Mediterranean. Here, another legend was born not from a living monster, but from the bones of a long-vanished giant. Homer's Odyssey tells of the Cyclops, a race of one-eyed, man-eating giants who lived in caves, shepherding their flocks with brutal force. The hero Odysseus himself faced the most famous of these, Polyphemus, a creature of pure, primal terror who devoured men whole and was blinded by a burning stake. For centuries, this image of a single, malevolent eye glaring from the center of a giant's forehead was the stuff of nightmares. But what if the ancient Greeks actually did see a giant skull, only they misinterpreted what they were looking at? The solution lies in the scattered remains of prehistoric creatures. On islands like Sicily, Cyprus, and Crete, archaeologists have unearthed the fossilized skulls of dwarf elephants. These animals, ancestors of today's elephants, grew only to the size of a small horse after evolving in isolation. Their skulls are bizarre to the modern eye, but to a Bronze Age Greek who had never seen an elephant, it would have been a puzzling and frightening discovery. The most striking feature is a large, single hole in the front of the skull. To us, this is clearly the cavity for the trunk, but to someone with no knowledge of elephant anatomy, this central opening looks exactly like the socket for one gigantic eye. The smaller, actual eye sockets are positioned on the sides of the skull, easily overlooked. A person stumbling upon such a relic would quite logically assume they had found the head of a monstrous, one-eyed humanoid. This simple, paleontological misunderstanding transformed ancient fossils into a race of cannibalistic giants, a legend so powerful it has endured for millennia. The Cyclops may never have stalked those island shores, but the evidence that created him was very, very real. High on the windswept plains of Central Asia, another legend took shape, a creature of noble and terrifying aspect. The griffin was no monster of the deep or cave-dwelling brute, but a majestic hybrid, a regal beast with the powerful body of a lion and the keen head and vast wings of an eagle. Greek and Persian myths spoke of these magnificent creatures as fierce guardians of unimaginable hoards of gold, protecting their treasures from any who dared to steal them. This was not a vague terror, but a very specific guardian, and its image was carved into Scythian gold and painted on Greek vases with stunning consistency across cultures. But why this specific combination of animals, and why was it so persistently linked to gold? The answer may lie not in myth, but in the very earth where the gold was found. For centuries, nomadic travelers and traders along the Silk Road would have crossed the vast, exposed landscapes of the Gobi Desert. Here, eroding from the sand and rock, they would have found the skeletons of a creature long vanished from the world, the protoceratops. This dinosaur was a four-legged herbivore about the size of a large sheep. Its fossilized skeleton presents a fascinating puzzle. It has a four-legged body structure not unlike a lion's, and most strikingly, it possesses a large, beaked skull that bears an uncanny resemblance to an eagle's head. The bony frill at the back of its skull could easily be interpreted as the remnants of large skeletal wings. Imagine a Scythian gold prospector kneeling by a stream in a remote desert canyon, stumbling upon one of these bleached white skulls staring up from the golden sand. With no concept of dinosaurs or prehistoric life, the most logical explanation would be the remains of a great beast that was part lion, part eagle, a creature perfectly suited to the very land where they searched for riches. The griffin did not guard the gold, it was born from it, a magnificent fossil misunderstood and brought to life by the human imagination, forever linking the king of the beasts with the king of the skies. While the griffin was forged from gold and bone in the deserts of Asia, another legendary creature was taking shape across the ancient world, one defined not by ferocity but by purity. The unicorn stands alone in the pantheon of mythical beasts, a symbol of grace and innocence, a horse-like creature with a single, spiraling horn projecting from its forehead. Its legend is remarkably universal, appearing in the ancient texts of India, the Bible itself, and woven into the very fabric of medieval European lore. This was not a monster to be feared, but a magical being to be revered. Its horn was said to have the power to purify poisoned water and heal sickness, making it one of the most sought-after relics in a world rife with disease and danger. Royalty and the church paid fortunes for what they believed was a genuine unicorn horn, using it to create ceremonial cups believed to neutralize any poison. But where did such a specific and enduring idea come from? The answer lies in two very real and very different sources. From the frozen Arctic seas came a mystery that captivated medieval traders, the narwhal. This unique whale possesses a magnificent, long, spiraled tusk, which is actually an elongated canine tooth. When these tusks, brought back by Viking explorers and northern traders, entered the markets of Europe, they were presented as the ultimate prize, the true horn of the unicorn. Their spiral groove matched the classic description perfectly, and their remote origin only added to their mystical allure. For centuries, these unicorn horns were among the most valuable commodities in the world, their power unquestioned by those who possessed them. But there is an even older, more terrestrial candidate. Roaming the vast steppes of Eurasia for thousands of years was a colossal creature known as the elasmotherium. This was not your typical rhinoceros. It was a massive beast larger than a modern elephant, and some paleontologists believe it may have sported a single, enormous horn on its forehead, a feature that would have been incredibly prominent. Fossils of this giant have been found across the same regions where unicorn myths first flourished. Is it possible that the scattered, massive skeletons of the elasmotherium, with their clear indication of a single central horn, formed the ancient ancestral memory of a great one-horned beast? The ethereal unicorn of our dreams may well be a beautiful fusion, a legend crafted from the mysterious tusk of an Arctic whale laid over the fossilized bones of a prehistoric giant. Perhaps no legendary creature is more universally recognized than the dragon. Its formidable image appears in the folklore of nearly every ancient civilization, from the winged, fire-breathing serpents of European castles to the wise, serpentine river guardians of Chinese emperors. Despite the vast cultural divides, the core description is remarkably consistent: a massive reptilian beast possessing scales, claws, and often the terrifying ability to fly and breathe fire. How could such a specific and widespread idea emerge independently across the globe? The evidence suggests our ancestors were piecing together a monstrous puzzle from the very real remains of prehistoric giants. Imagine a medieval farmer in China or a knight in Germany stumbling upon the massive, fossilized skull of a dinosaur. The long, bony frill of a protoceratops, for instance, with its sweeping, horn-like projections, could easily be mistaken for the fearsome head of a mythical dragon. These gigantic, unfamiliar bones were tangible proof that monsters of incredible size once walked the earth. But the dragon is more than just a memory of dinosaurs. It is a composite, a creature built from the most terrifying predators our ancestors knew. The dragon's sinuous, scaled body could have been inspired by encounters with enormous pythons or venomous serpents. Its powerful, toothy jaws and armored hide are direct echoes of the crocodile, a real-life river monster that could drag large animals beneath the waves. And what of its most famous attribute, the wings? The leathery, membranous wings of bats, creatures of the night that dwelled in caves, provided the perfect anatomical blueprint for a flying reptile. The final, most spectacular piece of the puzzle is the dragon's fiery breath. This could be a dramatic exaggeration of the defensive sprays of some snakes, or even the natural phenomenon of marsh gas, which can ignite with a sudden, ghostly flame over swamps and bogs, making the land itself seem to breathe fire. The dragon was not a single discovery, but a brilliant, terrifying synthesis. Ancient peoples took the scattered evidence of the natural world, the bones of the past and the predators of the present, and fused them into the ultimate embodiment of power and danger, a creature that has captivated our imagination for thousands of years. The dragon's composite form reveals how ancient minds assembled monsters from scattered evidence, but another legend was born from a single, staggering observation. Soaring through the skies of Middle Eastern and Persian folklore was the roc, a bird of prey of such impossible scale that its wings could blot out the sun. In the thrilling adventures of Sinbad the Sailor, this colossal avian is described as being strong enough to snatch a full-grown elephant from the ground, carrying the massive beast effortlessly in its talons to feed its voracious young. This was not just a story, it was a reported fact for many in the medieval world. The famed explorer Marco Polo, in his own travelogues, recorded tales from merchants and sailors of a gargantuan bird that lived on the island of Madagascar, a creature so vast its feathers were like great wooden planks and its lift was enough for an elephant. For centuries, this account was read with a mix of awe and skepticism. Yet, the truth behind the roc is one of the most direct links between myth and reality. The island of Madagascar was once home to a real-life monster bird, the Epiones or elephant bird. This was not a mere large eagle, but the largest bird to have ever lived, a flightless giant standing over 10 feet tall and weighing nearly 1,000 pounds. Its eggs were not just large, they were geological marvels, each one capable of holding over 2 gallons of liquid, over 150 times the size of a chicken egg. Imagine a merchant vessel landing on the shores of Madagascar and encountering the skeletal remains or even the last living specimens of this incredible creature. The sheer scale of the bird and its enormous eggs would have been utterly mind-bending, a sight that demanded an epic explanation. The stories they carried back to the mainland, growing with each telling, transformed a real, if extinct, megafauna into the legendary roc, a bird whose shadow once darkened the pages of both myth and history. While the rock casts a vast shadow from the skies, the sea offers a more haunting and personal vision. For centuries, sailors returned from long voyages with tales not of monsters, but of enchanting women of the deep, the mermaids. These half-human, half-fish creatures were said to sing with voices of unearthly beauty, luring men to their doom on rocky shores or simply vanishing beneath the waves, leaving behind only a memory of impossible grace. Even the famed explorer Christopher Columbus reported a sighting during his first voyage to the Americas, noting in his logbook that he had seen 3 mermaids rise from the water, though he remarked with some disappointment that they were not as beautiful as they were painted. This was not an isolated account. Similar reports came from sailors across the globe, from the Caribbean to the South Pacific. The legend was persistent and universal, born from the profound isolation and psychological strain of months at sea. But what were these experienced mariners actually seeing? The most plausible answer lies with the gentle, slow-moving marine mammals known as sea cows, the dugong and the manatee. To our modern eyes, the resemblance might seem comical, but we must view them through the lens of a weary sailor, peering across the sun-glinted waves from the deck of a wooden ship. A dugong, when viewed from a distance, has a rounded, torso-like body and a distinctly human-like face, with eyes that can seem to hold a knowing gaze. The female, especially, cradles her single calf in a flipper, holding it close to her chest to nurse at the water's surface, an action that from a distance could look remarkably like a human mother holding her child. After months without sight of land or woman, with minds addled by sun and solitude, the desperate hope for a familiar shape in the alien ocean could easily transform these placid grazers into the mythical sirens of the deep. The mermaid was not a malicious enchantress, but a mirage of the mind, a beautiful misinterpretation born from loneliness and the gentle, misunderstood biology of the sea cow. The lonely, frozen peaks of the Himalayas hold a different kind of mystery, one that walks on 2 legs and leaves giant footprints in the snow. For the Sherpa people who call these treacherous slopes home, the yeti is not merely a campfire story, it is a deeply woven part of their cultural fabric. They know it as the mugoi or mete, a large, hairy, ape-like being that is both respected and feared, a powerful creature said to inhabit the highest, most remote valleys. These are not tales invented for outsiders, they are generations-old accounts from a people intimately familiar with every sound and shadow of their mountain world. The legend remained a local belief until the early 20th century, when Western mountaineers began their assaults on Everest. These explorers returned with astonishing stories of their own, reporting strange, bipedal tracks at altitudes where no human could possibly live, prints so large they defied any known animal. The world was captivated, and the hunt for the abominable snowman began in earnest. Expeditions were launched, funded by newspapers and wealthy enthusiasts, all seeking to capture proof of the legendary beast. The evidence they gathered was always just out of reach, a collection of tantalizing clues. There were photographs of those enigmatic footprints in the snow, long trails that seemed to vanish over impossible cliffs. There were stories of distant, upright figures seen moving through the blizzard. There were even alleged relics like scalps and hair samples kept in remote monasteries, said to belong to the creature. For decades, this was the sum of the proof, a puzzle built on shadows and impressions. So what could explain such a persistent and specific legend? One compelling scientific theory points to a genuine prehistoric giant. Gigantopithecus was a massive ape that stood over 10 feet tall and roamed the forests of Asia millions of years ago. While its fossils are found in lower, warmer regions, some cryptozoologists suggest a population could have adapted to the colder mountain climate, surviving in small numbers and inspiring the tales of the large bipedal yeti. It is a thrilling idea, the thought of a lost relative of humanity hiding in the last unexplored corners of the planet. Yet, a much simpler explanation has emerged with modern science. When DNA testing was finally performed on those prized hair samples from monasteries and expeditions, the results were startlingly mundane. The hairs belonged to known local animals, most commonly the Himalayan brown bear and a particularly elusive subspecies, the Tibetan blue bear. A bear walking on its hind legs through deep snow can leave a track that looks remarkably like a single file line of giant humanoid footprints, especially when the sun melts the edges of the print, blurring the claw marks and creating a rounded foot-like shape. The yeti may not be a solitary, unknown ape, but a magnificent and rarely seen bear, its true identity masked by the harsh environment and the power of an ancient story. The legend persists because the mountains themselves guard their secrets well, leaving just enough room for wonder in the vast white silence. Far from the icy peaks of the Himalayas, the ancient, sun-scorched landscape of Australia holds a different kind of terror, one that waits in still, dark water. For countless generations, Aboriginal peoples have spoken of the bunyip, a malevolent spirit that dwells in swamps, billabongs, and deep river pools. Its descriptions are as varied and shifting as the water itself. Some accounts tell of a beast with a dog-like face, dark fur, and formidable tusks. Others describe a creature more like a giant seal, with flippers and a bellowing roar that echoes across the waterholes at night. This was not a mere monster story. It was a vital, functional part of life, a powerful cautionary tale told to children to keep them from wandering too close to dangerous, unpredictable bodies of water where they could easily drown. The fear of the bunyip was a tool for survival, but what could be the origin of such a pervasive and specific legend, a creature whose very name is said to mean devil or spirit? The most compelling answer lies buried in the very earth of the outback. For centuries, Aboriginal people would have uncovered the colossal bones of Australia's unique prehistoric megafauna. The most common of these giants was the Diprotodon, a massive wombat-like marsupial that was the size of a modern rhinoceros. Its enormous skull, with its prominent incisors that could be mistaken for tusks, and its sheer size, would have been a shocking discovery for anyone digging near a water source. Finding the skeleton of such an unfamiliar monster in the mud of a billabong would naturally lead to the belief that a terrifying creature still lived there. There is another, more immediate candidate. The aggressive and vocal Australian sea lion is known to occasionally venture far up rivers from the coast. A person encountering one of these large, noisy, and unfamiliar animals in a freshwater pool, hearing its strange barks and seeing its glistening, dark body surge through the water, would have a very real and frightening experience to report. The legend of the bunyip is a perfect fusion, a story born from the discovery of ancient bones and the startling encounters with real, erratic animals, all woven together into a timeless warning that has kept generations safe from the hidden dangers of the deep. Leaping from ancient fossil beds to the glare of modern television news, we find a monster born not in the mists of time but in the age of mass media. The legend of the chupacabra ignited in Puerto Rico in the mid-1990s, a sudden and terrifying wave of livestock deaths. Farmers would find their goats, sheep, and chickens completely drained of blood, with strange surgical puncture wounds on their bodies. The name given to the culprit was the chupacabra, literally the goat sucker. Eyewitnesses described a creature straight out of a science fiction nightmare, a bipedal, reptilian being with glowing red eyes, sharp claws, and a row of sharp spines running down its back. This was not a vague folk tale, it was a specific, frighteningly modern phenomenon, fueled by frantic newspaper headlines and sensational television reports. The story spread like wildfire across Latin America and into the southern United States, creating a perfect storm of mass hysteria. Every strange animal death was suddenly the work of the chupacabra. But what were thousands of people actually seeing? The truth, as is often the case, is far more tragic than any monster. The most consistent and scientifically supported explanation points to a common, earthly animal suffering from a devastating condition. Canines such as coyotes, foxes, and domestic dogs afflicted with severe mange are the real faces behind the chupacabra legend. Mange is a parasitic skin disease caused by mites. In its most extreme form, it causes the animal to lose all of its fur. Its skin becomes thickened, gray, and leathery. The creature is racked with itching and pain, becoming emaciated and gaunt, its frame skeletal and its appearance utterly alien. A coyote suffering from advanced mange no longer looks like a coyote. It becomes a hairless, spiny-backed, desperate creature that might walk with an odd, stiff gait. This perfectly matches the descriptions of the reptilian chupacabra. These sick animals, too weak to hunt their normal prey, would turn to easier targets like livestock, and their weakened state could explain the messy feeding, creating the illusion of a blood-draining attack. The chupacabra was not an invader from another world, but a heartbreaking example of a familiar animal, transformed by disease into a modern-day monster. Its legend a stark reminder of how easily fear can be broadcast and amplified in our interconnected world. Across the vast plains and soaring mountain ranges of North America, another legend of immense power took flight in the stories of countless Native American nations. The Thunderbird was a being of cosmic force, a gigantic avian spirit so large that the simple beating of its wings created the rolling booms of thunder that echoed across the sky. When it blinked, its eyes released brilliant flashes of lightning, and it was often depicted as a mighty predator of great serpents, representing the eternal struggle between the sky and the earth. This was far more than a simple weather explanation. It was a profound spiritual symbol of strength, protection, and the raw, untamable power of nature itself. The stories varied from tribe to tribe, but the core image of this sky sovereign remained, a constant and awe-inspiring presence in the oral histories of the continent. But such a specific and powerful image begs a question. Could it have been inspired by a real creature that once darkened these very skies? The answer may lie buried in the same earth that holds the bones of ancient bison and mammoth. Paleontologists have unearthed the fossils of a real-life monster bird known as the pterotornis. This was not a mere eagle, it was a vulture-like predator with a wingspan that could reach an astonishing 20 feet, wider than a small airplane. Its bones have been discovered from California to Florida, proving that these colossal birds were once a common part of the North American landscape. Imagine an ancient hunter traversing a rocky canyon, stumbling upon the enormous fossilized skull and immense wing bones of a pterotornis. With no concept of extinction or deep time, the most logical conclusion would be that this was the remains of a legendary sky being, a creature whose very flight could shake the heavens. The legend of the Thunderbird endures not just as a beautiful myth, but as a potential ancestral memory, a story passed down through generations, born from the very real, tangible evidence of a prehistoric giant that once ruled the winds. A legend of a different kind hides in the deep, cold, and utterly mysterious waters of a Scottish lake. The Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, is arguably the world's most famous cryptid, a creature whose story has captivated the globe for decades. Its modern legend began in earnest in the 1930s, sparked by a wave of sightings and a photograph that would become iconic. The 1934 surgeon's photograph depicted a long neck and head rising from the lake's dark water, an image that seemed to be the definitive proof of a prehistoric survivor. For generations, that single picture fueled the mystery, becoming the very face of Nessie. Yet the history of this lake serpent stretches back far beyond the age of cameras. The very first written account comes from the 6th century, from the life of Saint Columba, who reportedly commanded a water beast to retreat, saving a man it was attacking. This ancient report set the stage for a mystery that would endure for over 1,000 years. The modern era saw a relentless scientific pursuit to uncover the truth. Numerous expeditions have swept the loch with sonar, sometimes detecting large, moving objects deep below the surface that remain unidentified. These tantalizing blips on a screen keep hope alive, suggesting something large and unknown does indeed swim in those murky depths. So what could explain a century of sightings, sonar contacts, and passionate belief? The most popular and romantic theory suggests a surviving plesiosaur, a long-necked marine reptile from the age of dinosaurs, somehow trapped in the loch. The creature's described anatomy fits this image perfectly. However, the science is deeply problematic. Loch Ness is simply too cold and nutrient-poor to support a breeding population of large reptiles, and the lake was frozen solid during the last ice age, making a continuous survival for millions of years nearly impossible. More plausible explanations point to known animals that grow to impressive sizes. Giant eels are native to the region and could account for many of the serpentine shapes reported in the water. A massive Atlantic sturgeon, a prehistoric-looking fish that can reach lengths of over 10 feet, could easily be mistaken for a monster, and we must never underestimate the power of the environment itself. Loch Ness is a vast and moody body of water, prone to strange waves and optical effects. Floating logs, boat wakes that travel for miles, and unusual patterns of light and shadow can all conspire to create the illusion of a living creature where none exists. The surgeon's photograph itself was later revealed to be an elaborate hoax, a model attached to a toy submarine. Yet, even with that knowledge, the legend refuses to die. The human mind, it seems, is wired to see patterns and faces in the unknown, and the dark, deep waters of Loch Ness provide the perfect canvas for our most enduring monster. Deep within the shadowy pine barrens of New Jersey, a very different kind of American legend was born. The Jersey Devil is a creature of pure nightmare, described as a kangaroo-like body with the head of a horse, large leathery wings like a bat, and cloven hooves that leave sinister prints. Its origin story is rooted in a specific, chilling piece of folklore from the early 1700s. As the tale goes, a woman known as Mother Leeds, upon discovering she was pregnant with her 13th child, cursed the unborn baby in a moment of despair, declaring let it be a devil. When the child was born, it supposedly transformed before the eyes of the horrified midwives, sprouting its monstrous features and flying up the chimney to escape into the surrounding woods, where it has haunted the region ever since. For nearly 300 years, reports have trickled in of a piercing, unearthly scream echoing through the pines and of a grotesque, winged form glimpsed flitting between the trees. But the legend exploded into a full-blown regional panic in January of 1909. Over 1 week of sheer terror, newspapers from Philadelphia to New Jersey were filled with hundreds of sworn testimonies. Teachers kept children home from school, factories shut down for a night, and armed posses scoured the frozen landscape. People from all walks of life, from police officers to respected social figures, reported seeing the creature. It was said to have attacked a trolley car, left its strange tracks in the snow on rooftops, and been fired upon by multiple witnesses without any effect. The entire Delaware Valley was gripped by a fear so potent it felt like an invasion. So what really happened during that bizarre week? The most powerful explanation is a textbook case of mass hysteria. Once the first few sensational newspaper stories were published, they created a feedback loop of fear. Every strange noise in the night, every shadow in the woods was reinterpreted as the Jersey Devil. People expected to see the monster, and so their minds, conditioned by the stories, created it from the ordinary world around them. Many of the specific sightings have more grounded explanations. The sandhill crane, a large, prehistoric-looking bird native to North America, is a prime candidate. These birds stand nearly 4 feet tall, have a massive wingspan, and can appear eerily demonic when seen in low light, with their long necks and legs creating an unnatural silhouette. Most convincingly, they emit a loud, guttural, rattling call that is unlike any other bird sound, a noise that could easily be described as a devil's shriek to a frightened listener. The strange hoof prints reported on rooftops were almost certainly the work of hoaxers, capitalizing on the frenzy to perpetuate the myth. The Jersey Devil, therefore, is a powerful fusion, a creature born from a dark folk tale, amplified by the power of the press, and given fleeting form by the misidentification of a real animal and the human mind's incredible capacity to see what it most fears. The dark, tangled heart of the Congo Basin holds a legend of a different scale, a living relic from a world long lost. For generations, the stories told by local tribes speak of the Mokele Mbembe, a name that translates to one who stops the flow of rivers. This is no small spirit or trickster, but a colossal beast described as being as large as an elephant, with a long, flexible neck, a powerful tail, and a body that resembles a lizard. It is said to inhabit the most isolated rivers and swamps, a territorial creature that will aggressively capsize any canoe that ventures too close to its domain. These are not vague campfire tales, but consistent, detailed accounts from people whose lives are intimately connected to the river and the jungle. To Western ears, this description sparked an electrifying possibility. The long neck, the massive body, the lizard-like appearance, it all sounded unmistakably like a sauropod dinosaur, a living, breathing brachiosaurus somehow surviving in the planet's last unexplored wilderness. This tantalizing idea launched a century-long quest, drawing cryptozoologists from around the globe into one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. Expeditions have braved disease, treacherous terrain, and political instability, armed with blurry photographs and a deep hope of making the ultimate discovery. They have returned with pieces of evidence that are both compelling and deeply frustrating. There are plaster casts of large, rounded footprints found along muddy riverbanks, prints that do not perfectly match any known animal. There are eyewitness sketches drawn by explorers based on tribal descriptions, which consistently depict a creature with that iconic dinosaurian silhouette. The sheer consistency of the reports across different villages and over many decades is what fuels the belief that something truly unknown is waiting to be found. Yet, science demands more than stories and ambiguous tracks. The skeptical view offers a far more plausible, though less romantic, explanation. The Congo is home to forest elephants, and observing these giants in their natural habitat provides the key. When an elephant swims across a river, only the top of its head and back are visible above the water. Its trunk is often held aloft like a periscope to breathe. From a distance, through the heat haze and dense foliage, the head and raised trunk could easily be misinterpreted as the long neck and small head of a sauropod. The massive, submerged body would complete the illusion. A mother elephant swimming with her calf could even create the impression of two smaller creatures. The Mokele Mbembe may be a magnificent case of misidentification, where the reality of a familiar animal, viewed under difficult and fleeting conditions, transforms into the legend of a prehistoric survivor. It is a reminder that the greatest mysteries are not always about what is hidden, but about how we see and how desperately we want to believe that the world still holds ancient wonders. The harsh, sun-scorched expanse of the Gobi Desert holds a legend born not from ancient bones, but from the very sand itself. Mongolian nomads speak in hushed tones of the Olgoi Korkoi, the Mongolian deathworm, a creature of pure, visceral terror. It is described as a bright red, sausage-like worm, sometimes said to be as long as a man is tall, that supposedly inhabits the most barren dunes, but this is no ordinary worm. It possesses two horrific abilities that elevate it to a true desert demon: the power to spit a stream of corrosive, yellow acid strong enough to melt metal, and the even more terrifying ability to electrocute its victims from several feet away, killing them without ever making contact. For the nomadic herders who traverse this unforgiving landscape, the deathworm is not a myth. It is a very real danger, a reason to avoid certain sandy areas, especially during the rainy months of June and July when it is said to surface. The legend is so deeply embedded in their culture that it serves as a practical warning against the hidden perils of the desert. Yet no scientist has ever captured one, and no specimen exists in any museum. So what are these experienced desert dwellers describing with such chilling consistency? The most plausible explanation is that the death worm is not a single creature, but a brilliant, terrifying composite of real desert animals, their individual dangers fused by generations of storytelling. The worm's distinctive red color and burrowing nature could easily be inspired by sightings of large, brightly hued reptiles like the skink, which can have a vibrant, almost crimson appearance. Its most fearsome attribute, the acidic spit, finds a perfect parallel in the venom of the deathstalker scorpion, one of the most dangerous scorpions in the world, whose potent neurotoxin could be poetically described as a burning, flesh-destroying acid. As for the creature's legendary electric shock, this could be a dramatic interpretation of the venomous bite from a snake like the Central Asian viper, whose sudden, painful strike and the ensuing neurotoxic effects could feel to a victim like a violent, inexplicable jolt of electricity. There is another, more recent and fascinating theory. Some cryptozoologists have suggested the Tartar sand boa, a snake that buries itself in the sand with only its head exposed, could be a physical match for the worm-like description. The death worm, therefore, is likely not a biological anomaly but a cultural one, a masterful piece of folklore that takes the very real and ever-present threats of the desert, venom, and hidden predators, and combines them into one ultimate, unforgettable symbol of the land's deadly power. It is the desert itself personified as a monster. Medieval Europe's libraries held bestiaries filled with a creature whose very name inspired pure dread, the basilisk. Crowned the king of serpents, this was no ordinary monster. Its origin was as bizarre as its powers, said to be born from a chicken's egg, somehow hatched not by a hen but by a vile toad. This unnatural birth created a being of absolute venom, a serpent so potent that its mere gaze could strike a man dead where he stood, and its breath was so poisonous it could wither plants and shatter stones. Legends warned that the only safe way to kill a basilisk was to make it see its own reflection, as its own deadly power would be its undoing. This kingly serpent often gets confused with another mythical beast, the cockatrice, a hybrid with the head and legs of a rooster and the tail of a serpent. While their stories blended over time, the basilisk remained the ultimate serpent, a symbol of corruption and lethal authority. So where could such a specific and terrifying concept have originated? Look to the real world's own king of snakes, the king cobra. This is the longest venomous snake on Earth, capable of a truly regal and frightening behavior. When threatened, it can raise up to a third of its body length off the ground, lifting its head to stare a full-grown person directly in the eye. The expanded hood behind its head bears a pattern that can easily be interpreted as a crown, fitting the king title perfectly. A cobra's fixed, unblinking stare from such a height would be utterly paralyzing, easily morphing into tales of a gaze that killed on sight. But what of its legendary, venomous breath? This finds a startling parallel in the spitting cobras of Africa and Asia. These snakes have a remarkable and horrifying defensive adaptation. They can accurately project their venom in a fine spray for distances of over 6 feet, aiming directly for the eyes of a potential threat. The blinding, burning agony caused by this venom hitting the face, especially from a creature standing tall and looking directly at you, would perfectly explain the myth of a poisonous breath or even a gaze that inflicted death from a distance. The basilisk, therefore, was a chilling fusion of fact and fear, a legend built upon the very real and very terrifying capabilities of the cobra. While the dragon is a complex hybrid of many fears, its heraldic cousin presents a more streamlined vision of terror. The wyvern cuts a distinct silhouette across European folklore, a creature defined by its specific and imposing anatomy. Unlike the four-legged dragon, the wyvern stands on 2 powerful hind legs, its body tapering into a long, often venomous tail, and its most prominent feature, a vast pair of leathery wings carrying it through the air. This was not a creature of elemental chaos, but a symbol of very specific human horrors. Emblazoned on shields and banners, the wyvern represented the swift, merciless scourge of pestilence and the brutal reality of military conquest, a flying omen of disease and war descending upon the land. Its form was elegant and menacing, a predator built for aerial dominance. But what if this specific heraldic beast had a direct physical ancestor, one that medieval Europeans were literally stumbling over in their own quarries? The connection becomes undeniable when we examine the fossil record. Across Europe, from the limestone deposits of England to the chalk cliffs of Germany, people were unearthing the remains of creatures that defied all understanding. The bones of pterosaurs, flying reptiles from the age of dinosaurs, presented a perfect anatomical match for the wyvern, a creature like pteranodon with its enormous membranous wings supported by a single, grotesquely elongated finger, its lightweight, hollow bones, and its distinctly reptilian head, often with a sharp, toothless beak, would have been a shocking discovery. Imagine a medieval stonemason splitting open a rock to find the perfectly preserved skeleton of such a beast. The huge wing finger bones would suggest a monstrous skeletal hand, while the hip and leg structure clearly showed a bipedal stance. With no concept of deep time or extinct flying reptiles, the most logical conclusion was that this was the skeleton of the legendary wyvern, a winged serpent that once darkened the skies. The legend was not born from a composite of fears, but from a direct, tangible encounter with the prehistoric past, a fossilized blueprint for a heraldic monster. From the sun-scorched terror of the desert worm, we travel to the misty, windswept coasts of the North Atlantic, where the waves whisper a far more haunting and beautiful legend. Here, in the folklore of the Scottish Isles, Ireland, and Scandinavia, live the selkies. These are not monsters, but magical beings of profound melancholy, seals in the water who possess the enchanting ability to shed their skin and become breathtakingly beautiful humans on land. Their stories are almost always tinged with a deep, resonant sadness. One of the most classic tales tells of a lonely fisherman who, walking along a moonlit shore, discovers a group of selkies dancing in their human forms, their seal skins lying discarded on the rocks. Overcome with desire for one of the women, he snatches her skin and hides it. Without her pelt, she cannot return to the sea. He convinces her, or perhaps forces her, to become his wife, and for years they live together, even having children. She is a good wife, but a quiet sorrow never leaves her eyes, and she often wanders to the shore, gazing out at the ocean with an inconsolable longing. Then, one day, one of her children finds the hidden seal skin and brings it to her. The moment she touches it, the call of the sea becomes irresistible. She slips back into the waves, returning to her true home, leaving her human family behind forever. This story, repeated in countless variations, speaks to a universal theme of loss, captivity, and the powerful pull of one's true nature. But what in the natural world could inspire such a poignant and specific myth? The answer lies in the seals themselves. If you have ever looked into the eyes of a seal, you will understand. Their large, dark, liquid eyes hold a startling depth of expression, an intelligence, and what seems like a very human-like sadness. They will often watch people on shore or on boats with a curious, almost knowing gaze, creating a powerful sense of connection. More than their appearance, it is their voices that truly forge the legend. The calls of seals, especially the haunting, melodic cries of the grey seal, carry across the water with an eerie human quality. On a foggy evening, that mournful, wailing sound could easily be interpreted as the lament of a lost soul, the weeping of a magical being trapped on land and yearning for the sea. The selkie myth is a testament to the profound empathy our ancestors felt for the natural world, a beautiful, sorrowful story born from the soulful gaze and the haunting song of the seal. The mournful cries of the selkie are not the only haunting songs carried on the wind. In the misty glens and ancient castles of Ireland, a different sound foretells an inescapable fate, the piercing wail of the banshee. This is not a monster seeking to harm, but a female spirit, a messenger from the other side whose sole purpose is to warn of impending death. Her name comes from the Old Irish Bean Shea, meaning woman of the fairy mounds. Her legend is deeply specific, tied not to everyone, but to the great old Gaelic families, the O'Neills, the O'Briens, the O'Connors. To hear her cry was to know that a member of your lineage was about to pass from this world. Descriptions of her vary, from a beautiful young woman with long, flowing silver hair to a hunched and elderly crone, often seen washing blood-stained clothes in a stream, a direct portent of the violent death to come. But her voice is always the same, a soul-chilling scream or a low, unbearable keening that cuts through the silence of the night. In a culture with deep reverence for ancestors and family lines, this was a sacred, if terrifying, tradition. But what natural sounds could have been twisted into such a specific omen of doom? The answer lies in the Irish night itself. The call of a barn owl is a primary suspect. This is not a gentle hoot, but a long, drawn-out and blood-curdling shriek, a sound that is profoundly unsettling to the human ear, especially when it echoes through the lonely corridors of a crumbling castle or a dense, dark wood. Then there is the fox. During its mating season, the vixen's cry is a stark, high-pitched vocalization that sounds with chilling accuracy, like a woman screaming in absolute terror. A person hearing this from their isolated cottage would have no frame of reference for such an alien sound, but perhaps the most pervasive explanation is the landscape itself. Ireland is a country of wind-swept hills and ancient stone ruins. The wind, whistling through a crack in a lonely castle wall or through a gap in a stand of barren trees, can create a low, moaning whine, a natural keening that seems to mourn for the entire world. In an age before electric light, gripped by the very real and ever-present shadow of disease and mortality, these natural sounds were filtered through a lens of profound superstition and deep-seated grief. The desperate human need for a sign, for any warning of the lost to come, transformed the shriek of an owl, the scream of a fox, and the moan of the wind into the voice of the banshee, a spirit forever bound to the sorrow of a family's final farewell. The sorrowful cry of the banshee speaks to a fear of loss, but some legends warn of a terror that corrupts the soul itself. Deep within the folklore of the Algonquian peoples of North America, there exists a being of pure, chilling malevolence, the wendigo. This is not a mere monster of flesh and blood, but a spirit born from the most desperate of human sins, cannibalism. The legend served as a powerful, functional taboo, a cultural safeguard against the ultimate transgression in a world defined by harsh winters and the ever-present threat of famine. The wendigo is the embodiment of that famine, a creature of insatiable hunger that is paradoxically forever starving. It is described as a gaunt, emaciated giant, its ashen skin stretched taut over its skeletal frame. Its eyes glow with a feral madness, and its lips are often said to be stained with blood or chewed away, a horrifying vision of consumption that can never be sated. To consume human flesh, the stories warned, was to invite the wendigo spirit to possess you, to transform you into the very thing you had become, a predator forever cursed to hunt your own kind. This legend is a profound psychological exploration, a way for communities to process the unthinkable horrors that extreme starvation could drive a person to commit. The gaunt, monstrous form of the wendigo is a direct reflection of a body wasting away from hunger, its endless appetite a metaphor for how the act of cannibalism destroys one's humanity, creating a spiritual void that can never be filled. In a very real, tragic sense, the legend may have been reinforced by encounters with individuals who had been pushed beyond the brink by starvation, their minds shattered and their bodies transformed into living specters of need wandering the winter woods. In more modern interpretations, the fleeting glimpse of a large, thin animal in the stark winter forest, like a starving wolf or a moose with its ribs showing, could be misinterpreted by a frightened mind already steeped in the legend, its silhouette against the snow becoming the monstrous shape of the wendigo. This creature remains one of the most chilling figures in mythology, not because it might be a physical beast, but because it represents a darkness that resides within the human heart, a warning that echoes through the cold, silent woods. The legends of the frozen north warn of spiritual corruption, but the rivers of Japan hold a different kind of peril, one that is both comical and cruel. Here, the kappa lurks in the deep pools and slow-moving currents, a creature of startling contradictions. It is often depicted as a child-sized being with the scaly, greenish skin of a frog and the hard, domed shell of a turtle upon its back. Its most peculiar feature is the shallow, water-filled depression that rests atop its head. This dish is the source of the kappa's life force, and if the water is ever spilled, the creature is said to become powerless, even dying if it cannot return to its river home. This strange anatomy is central to its bizarre behavior. The kappa is known for its deep sense of decorum and its love of challenging humans to games of sumo wrestling. A quick-witted person can defeat a kappa by bowing deeply, forcing the polite creature to return the gesture and spill the water from its head. Yet, for all its comical rules, the kappa possesses a deeply sinister side. It is a notorious trickster that will pull livestock and even people beneath the water to drown. Folktales speak of its quest for a mythical organ known as the shirikodama, a mysterious, jewel-like ball believed to reside within a human's anus, which the kappa would supposedly extract from its victims. This grotesque detail adds a layer of genuine fear to an otherwise whimsical legend. So what real animal could have inspired such a specific and enduring myth? The most compelling candidate emerges from those very same rivers, the Japanese giant salamander. This is not a small, pond-dwelling amphibian, but a genuine monster of the deep, capable of growing over 5 feet in length. Its body is flat and broad, with a wide head and small, seemingly intelligent eyes that can give it an unnervingly humanoid appearance when viewed from above the water's surface. Its skin is rugose and slimy, matching the kappa's described texture. A giant salamander lurking in the murky depths of a river bend could easily be mistaken by a frightened observer for a crouching, child-sized creature. Its powerful limbs and tendency to grab at things with its mouth could explain the tales of people being pulled under. The legend of the kappa served a vital purpose, a colorful but serious warning to children about the very real dangers of drowning in deceptively calm rivers, with the giant salamander providing the perfect, living foundation for a 1,000-year-old story. While the kappa embodies the hidden dangers of a single river, the vast, frozen expanse of the Arctic holds a terror of a much grander scale. Inuit legends speak of the Amarok, a wolf of such immense size and power that it defies the common understanding of these pack animals. This is not the howl of a hunting party, but the solitary, crushing force of a giant that hunts entirely alone. It preys not on the weak, but on the foolish, specifically those arrogant hunters who venture into the darkness alone, believing they can conquer the night. The Amarok is far more than a mere monster. It is the very personification of the Arctic wilderness itself, a stark reminder that the environment is not merely cold, but actively hostile and unforgiving to those who do not respect its rules. It represents the brutal, solitary death that awaits anyone who overestimates their own strength against the immense power of nature. Scientifically, a single, monstrous wolf of this description has never been catalogued. Yet, the legend finds a hauntingly plausible origin in the deep past. For thousands of years, North America was stalked by the dire wolf, a larger, heavier, and more powerful cousin of the modern gray wolf. While dire wolves are believed to have hunted in packs, encounters with a particularly large, solitary individual would have been a terrifying and memorable event. The stories of such an encounter, passed down through countless generations, could have easily evolved and persisted long after the dire wolf itself vanished from the earth, its formidable image crystallizing into the legendary Amarok, the solitary giant that still stalks the edges of memory in the endless Arctic night. The Sphinx of Giza is an ancient riddle carved directly into the living rock. This monumental statue embodies the very essence of the mythological creature, a being with the powerful, recumbent body of a lion and the serene, knowing head of a human pharaoh. In Greek mythology, the Sphinx was a malevolent force that guarded the city of Thebes, posing a deadly riddle to all travelers and devouring those who failed to answer. The hero Oedipus famously solved the puzzle, leading the creature to destroy itself in a fit of rage. This story perfectly captures the Sphinx's enduring role as a guardian of profound and dangerous knowledge. Yet the Great Sphinx of Egypt presents a riddle far greater than any from a storybook. Mainstream Egyptology dates its construction to the Old Kingdom, around 2,500 years before the Common Era, attributing it to the Pharaoh Khafre. But this timeline is the heart of a modern controversy that challenges our entire understanding of its origin. The water erosion hypothesis points to the deep, vertical weathering channels covering the Sphinx's limestone body. This pattern of erosion, some geologists argue, is not the result of wind and sand, which create horizontal weathering lines. Instead, it strongly resembles the effects of heavy, prolonged rainfall, the kind that would have drenched the Sahara thousands of years before the pharaohs, when the region was a green savanna. If this theory is correct, the Sphinx could be exponentially older, perhaps dating back to a time before recorded history, to a forgotten civilization lost to the sands of time. This raises a staggering possibility. Could the very idea of a creature part lion and part human have been inspired by a real-world interaction? Imagine a hypothetical advanced society from that distant era, sharing its landscape with the last remnants of now extinct African megafauna. The concept of a lion's body would be drawn from the majestic predators they knew, but what of the human-like head? Is it so difficult to believe that the sight of a massive, intelligent primate, a creature like Gigantopithecus, could have planted the seed for the human-animal hybrid? The legend of the Sphinx, therefore, might be a double mystery, a fusion of a potential prehistoric witness and a monument whose true age and purpose remain one of history's most captivating enigmas. Deep within the emerald shadows of the Amazon, a different kind of guardian is said to walk, one whose roar silences the jungle itself. Brazilian folklore tells of the mapinguari, a creature of terrifying contradictions. It is described as a giant, shambling beast covered in thick, matted, reddish fur that is impervious to arrows and spears. Its most horrifying feature is not one but two mouths, the second a gaping, tooth-lined opening in the center of its stomach. Its deafening roar can paralyze with fear, and it is fiercely territorial, known to attack those who exploit the forest or cut down its trees. For the indigenous peoples, the mapinguari is not a mindless monster, but a powerful protector of the rainforest, a living embodiment of nature's wrath against those who would do it harm. The sheer specificity of this description, a giant, slow-moving, foul-smelling creature with invulnerable skin, has led some scientists to propose a breathtaking theory. Could this legend be a living, breathing cultural memory of a creature that actually existed? The Amazon region is home to the fossilized remains of the Megatherium, the giant ground sloth. This was no sleepy tree dweller, but a true behemoth, a creature that stood over 20 feet tall on its hind legs and weighed several tons. It was a massive, slow-moving herbivore with incredibly tough skin and long, sharp claws, matching the physical description of the mapinguari with uncanny accuracy. The most compelling part of this theory is the timeline. While we think of such giants as existing in a distant prehistoric past, the Megatherium and its relatives only went extinct around 10,000 years ago. This is a blink of an eye in human history, meaning our earliest ancestors in the Americas would have absolutely encountered these colossal animals. The stories of those encounters, passed down through hundreds of generations, could have easily transformed the real, living Megatherium into the mythical guardian, the mapinguari. The second mouth on its stomach could be a folkloric exaggeration of the animal's umbilical scar or perhaps its genitalia, reinterpreted through generations of storytelling into something more monstrous. The legend endures because it serves a vital purpose, protecting the jungle by instilling a deep-seated fear of its unseen protector, a fear that may have its roots in a genuine, ancestral memory of a time when giants truly did walk the earth. The reverence for serpents runs deep in the spiritual soil of South and Southeast Asia, embodied by the magnificent Naga. These are not simple monsters, but complex, semi-divine beings, often depicted with the hooded head and powerful torso of a human rising from the coiled body of a great serpent. They are the guardians of the earth's hidden wealth, the rulers of subterranean and aquatic realms, and the keepers of profound esoteric knowledge. In the epic Mahabharata, they are both antagonists and key figures in the cosmic drama, with the serpent king Vasuki himself used as the churning rope to stir the ocean of milk and produce the nectar of immortality. This duality, as both protector and formidable obstacle, reflects the deep respect and fear these creatures commanded. To see a Naga was to witness a force of nature given divine form. But what real-world encounter could possibly inspire such a detailed and enduring archetype? The answer likely lies in the primal human experience with the largest constrictor snakes on the planet. Imagine an ancient farmer or herder in the jungles of India coming face to face with a massive Indian python. This is a creature of immense quiet power, capable of moving with an almost intelligent grace before striking with shocking speed and strength. Its sheer size and the mesmerizing pattern of its scales would be awe-inspiring. Its hood, when flared, creates a silhouette that is undeniably human-like in its breadth and shape, a visual echo that could easily evolve in the telling into the upper body of a god. The anaconda of South America, though geographically distant, presents a similar case, a water-dwelling leviathan that rules its domain with an ancient, implacable authority. Early human societies would have observed the python's behavior, its patient hunting, its powerful coiling embrace, and its deep connection to water sources, and seen not just an animal but a conscious spiritual entity. The Naga, therefore, stands as a testament to a time when the line between the animal kingdom and the divine was beautifully, terrifyingly thin, a legendary being born from the very real, hypnotic presence of the serpent kings. A creature of pure petrifying terror, the Gorgon Medusa stands apart in the pantheon of Greek monsters. She and her sisters were not mere beasts but cursed women, their beautiful hair transformed into a hissing, writhing nest of venomous snakes, and their gaze possessed a power so absolute it could turn a living man to solid, unmoving stone. The hero Perseus, armed with a reflective shield to avoid her direct gaze, a divine sword, and winged sandals, embarked on the ultimate quest to behead her, using her own terrifying power as a weapon against his enemies. This myth of instant magical fossilization is one of the most enduring in all of mythology. Yet, what if this legendary power was not magic at all, but a dramatic interpretation of a very real and deadly geological phenomenon? In the ancient world, there were places considered gateways to the underworld, sites like the plutonium of Hierapolis in modern-day Turkey. These were openings in the earth, often near active volcanic regions, that emitted toxic, mineral-rich gases, primarily carbon dioxide. This invisible, heavier-than-air gas would pool in low-lying areas, silently suffocating any animal or person who wandered into its reach. The process of death was swift and mysterious. But the story does not end there. The waters flowing from these volcanic vents were saturated with dissolved minerals like calcium carbonate. When a body, perhaps a sacrificial animal or an unlucky traveler, fell into these waters and was submerged, the minerals would slowly coat and impregnate the organic tissues, creating a perfect, stony cast of the victim over time. It was a natural process of petrification. Imagine an ancient Greek traveler hearing tales from the east of a sacred grove where birds fell dead from the sky and animals were found turned to stone. With no knowledge of poisonous gas or mineral saturation, What more logical explanation could there be than a monstrous, unseen presence, a gaze that literally froze life in its tracks? The writhing snake hair could then be a symbolic representation of the deadly, hissing vapors themselves, coiling and striking without warning. The legend of Medusa's gaze may be one of humanity's earliest and most creative attempts to explain the lethal and petrifying magic of the natural world. The dense, mist-shrouded mountains of the Philippines hold a trickster far more unsettling than a simple ghost. Here, the legend of the Tikbalang walks, a creature of profound anatomical contradiction. It stands as a tall, muscular humanoid, but its head is that of a horse, complete with large, intelligent eyes and a flowing mane, while its feet are the unmistakable hooves of the same animal. This bizarre hybrid is not a mindless monster, but a cunning and mischievous spirit of the forest, a master of illusion whose primary goal is to disorient and mislead travelers. It is said that the Tikbalang delights in leading people off the safe, familiar paths, using its magic to make forest trails twist back on themselves endlessly, trapping the lost wanderer in an inescapable labyrinth of trees and shadows until the break of dawn. Why would such a specific and eerie legend take such a firm hold in the island's folklore? Like so many mythical beings, the Tikbalang likely emerged from a startling, real-world encounter in the half-light of the jungle. The most plausible origin lies with one of the archipelago's most graceful native animals, the Philippine deer, known locally as the USA. This deer is not the stocky, low-slung creature of northern forests. It possesses a distinctly slender, upright frame and an unusually long, elegant neck. Now, picture a lone traveler making their way through the thick, swirling fog of a mountain pass at dusk. Through a break in the mist, for just a fleeting second, they catch a glimpse of a dark, tall silhouette standing on its hind legs, perhaps to reach a high branch. The long neck and head of the deer, silhouetted against the gray fog, could easily lose their familiar form, the elongated snout and alert ears transforming into the unmistakable profile of a horse's head. The body, balanced upright, would complete the terrifying illusion of a tall, horse-headed man staring back from the wilderness. The sudden snap of a twig as the deer dropped to all fours and bolted would only reinforce the idea of a supernatural being vanishing into the ether. The Tikbalang, therefore, stands as a perfect example of how our minds, conditioned by fear and the unknown, can assemble a monster from the pieces of a perfectly ordinary animal, a trick of the light and the landscape giving birth to a legend that has haunted the Philippine highlands for centuries. Far to the south, in the shadow of the Andes Mountains, the earth itself is alive with a destructive fury. The Mapuche people of Chile told of the Cheruf, an ancient evil that dwelled within the hearts of volcanoes. This was no mere beast, but a primordial entity of rock and crystal, a giant reptilian monster whose body was forged from the very magma it commanded. Its rage was not a simple temper, it was the cause of the land's greatest catastrophes. When the Cheruf stirred in its molten lair, the ground would tremble and split, and the mountain would spew fire and ash into the sky, an eruption that could bury entire villages. For a culture living on such volatile ground, this legend provided a framework for the incomprehensible. It transformed the random, terrifying violence of plate tectonics and geothermal energy into a conscious, malevolent force. And if the Earth's anger had a spirit, then that spirit could be appeased. The most chilling aspect of the legend was the prescribed method of calming the beast. The Mapuche believed the Cheruf craved human sacrifice. To prevent an eruption or stop an earthquake, a victim would be thrown into the volcano's fiery crater, a desperate offering to sate the appetite of the living mountain. This practice, while horrifying, reveals a profound human need. In a world without geology, what else could explain such awesome destruction? The people saw the mountain breathe fire and consume everything in its path so logically it must be hungry. The Cheruf was not just a monster, it was a brilliant pre-scientific hypothesis. It personified an unstoppable natural force into a tangible enemy that could, at least in theory, be reasoned with, bargained with, or even defeated through ritual. This legend stands as a powerful testament to how human imagination fills the void of the unknown, creating a monster from magma and fear to explain a world that shakes and burns. Sweden's own Deep Lake holds a secret just as compelling as its Scottish counterpart. In the heart of the country lies Lake Storsjön, a vast, cold body of water that is home to the legendary Storsarodjuret, the Great Lake Monster. For over 400 years, the people of Jämtland have told stories of a massive, serpentine creature gliding through the dark waters. The first written account dates back to 1635, a time when folklore and reality were deeply intertwined, describing a water snake of tremendous size. Since then, hundreds of witnesses have come forward with remarkably consistent reports. Some describe a classic sea serpent, a long, undulating body with multiple humps breaking the surface. Others report a creature with a dog-like head or one adorned with strange, fin-like protrusions. The sheer volume and persistence of these sightings created such a powerful local belief that in 1986, the provincial government took an extraordinary step. They officially listed the Storsarodjuret as an endangered species, legally protecting the monster from harm or capture. This was a symbolic gesture, of course, but it highlights how deeply the creature is woven into the region's cultural identity. So what could explain centuries of sightings in a single Scandinavian lake? One of the most plausible theories points to a known resident, the siluro or the Wells catfish. This is no small pond fish. It is a behemoth that can grow to lengths of over 10 feet and weigh more than 300 pounds. Its long, smooth, dark body and slow, sinuous movements near the surface perfectly match many descriptions of the monster. Another native candidate is the northern pike, a predatory fish that can reach impressive sizes. A very large old pike, its back scarred and its body magnified by the water's distortion, could easily be mistaken for the hump of a mysterious beast. But there is an even more intriguing, albeit far-fetched possibility. Could the Storsarodjuret be a relic from a much colder age? Some researchers have proposed the Greenland shark, a mysterious, slow-moving giant that inhabits the deep, frigid waters of the Arctic. These sharks can live for centuries and grow to over 20 feet long. Thousands of years ago, when ice sheets covered the land, it is conceivable that a population of these sharks became trapped in what is now Lake Storsjön as the glaciers retreated. The lake is deep and cold enough to support such a creature, and its elusive, bottom-dwelling nature would explain why it is so rarely seen. Whether it is a magnified pike, a massive catfish, or a lost prehistoric shark, the Storsarodjuret proves that the desire for mystery is a universal human trait, a reminder that even in the modern world, our own backyards can still hold secrets waiting in the deep. History's final legend stalks out of the dark forests of 18th century France, a creature born not from ancient myth but from the ink of royal decrees and the terror of newspaper headlines. The beast of Gavorden was a real flesh and blood predator that descended upon a rural province, killing an estimated 100 people, many of them women and children, over a brutal 3-year period. This was not a ghost story, it was a shared nightmare that gripped an entire nation. The panic was absolute. Villagers barricaded their homes, children were escorted to school by armed guards, and the very hills seemed to whisper with the presence of the unseen killer. The descriptions given by the few who survived an attack were wildly inconsistent and utterly chilling. Some described a creature the size of a calf with a massive wolf-like head, a reddish coat streaked with black, and a long, powerful tail. Others swore it had terrifying claws, a bristling ridge of dark fur along its spine, and an unnatural resistance to injury, as if bullets could not harm it. The legend grew with every victim, fed by fear and the sheer scale of the carnage. The terror reached the court of King Louis XV himself, who dispatched his own professional wolf hunters and even entire regiments of dragoons to the region, turning the hunt into a national crusade. They killed many large wolves, yet the attacks continued, deepening the mystery and fueling the belief that this was no ordinary animal. So what was it truly? The most plausible explanation points to a series of large, perhaps abnormally aggressive wolves. A pack led by a particularly large and cunning individual, or even a single man-eating wolf, could account for the pattern of attacks. Some zoologists have suggested the beast may have been a wolf-dog hybrid, a creature with the size of a wolf and the lack of fear toward humans sometimes seen in domestic dogs, making it a uniquely bold predator. Other theories propose an escaped exotic animal like a striped hyena, whose description could match some of the more bizarre accounts. The truth is likely a tragic fusion of fact and fear. A region already primed by folklore interpreted a very real, sustained wave of wolf predation through a lens of absolute terror, transforming a large canid into a supernatural monster. The Beast of Gévaudan stands as a stark reminder that sometimes the most terrifying legends are not born in the distant past, but can erupt from the pages of documented history, a chilling testament to the thin line between a known animal and the monster we create in our minds. These global threads of monster mythology are far from random coincidence. When you step back and view them as a whole, a fascinating pattern emerges. Cultures separated by vast oceans and impassable mountain ranges, peoples who had no conceivable contact for thousands of years, all somehow conjured remarkably similar beasts. The dragon, in its various forms, is the ultimate example, appearing independently in the legends of Europe, China, Mesoamerica, and Australia. How is this possible? The answer lies not in shared stories, but in shared human experiences with a mysterious and often dangerous world. Our ancestors were all looking at the same pieces of a planetary puzzle, and their imaginations assembled those pieces in strikingly parallel ways. One of the most powerful universal inspirations was the evidence of giants that literally lay beneath their feet. From the Mediterranean to the Gobi Desert to the Australian outback, ancient peoples kept unearthing the colossal bones of prehistoric animals. A mammoth femur, a dinosaur skull, the tusk of a long-vanished beast, these were tangible proof that creatures of unimaginable size once walked the earth. Without the concept of deep time or extinction, the only logical conclusion was that these bones belonged to monsters that might still be lurking just beyond the edge of the known world. The Cyclops was born from an elephant skull, the griffin from a protoceratops, and the bunyip from the diprotodon. Every giant skeleton was a potential new legend, a story crafted to explain the unexplainable relics of a lost world. Just as powerful was the human tendency to misidentify the animals they already knew. A weary sailor, after months at sea, sees a dugong nursing its calf, and his longing mind creates a mermaid. A frightened traveler in the Philippine fog mistakes the silhouette of a deer for the horse-headed tikbalang. A sick coyote, hairless and gaunt from mange, becomes the bloodthirsty chupacabra of modern legend. These are not lies, but misinterpretations where the brain tries to make sense of a fleeting, unfamiliar shape by fitting it into a known or newly invented category. The fear of the dark, the loneliness of the ocean, the strangeness of a diseased animal, all these factors twisted perception, blending the features of real creatures into terrifying chimeras that felt utterly real to those who swore they saw them. Ultimately, these legends served a profound human need. Our ancestors lived in a world ruled by forces they could not control or comprehend. Why did the earth shake and mountains spew fire? The Mapuche created the cheruf, a lava monster that demanded sacrifice. Why did a mysterious illness sweep through a village? Medieval Europe blamed the wyvern, a flying bringer of pestilence. What caused that unearthly shriek in the Irish night? It must be the banshee, warning of a death in the family. Personifying these abstract dangers gave them a form. If a disaster has a face, then it can perhaps be understood, appeased, or even defeated. The wendigo was not just a monster, it was a cautionary tale against the sin of cannibalism during famine, a way to give a name to the ultimate societal taboo. These stories were the first attempts at science and psychology, creating a framework of meaning for a chaotic universe. They were born from a universal desire to look into the shadows and the deep water, and to give a name to the things we fear. The evidence is clear, these creatures were never born of pure fantasy. We did not find a living dragon in its mountain lair or witness the kraken's tentacles rise from the abyss, yet the truths we uncovered are, in their own way, just as astounding. A simple elephant skull gave us the cyclops, the gentle sea cow became the lonely mermaid, and the fossil of a long-dead dinosaur transformed into the majestic griffin. Each legend is a testament to human ingenuity, a creative solution crafted to explain the unexplainable relics of a world we were only just beginning to understand. These stories are far more than just campfire tales. They are a fundamental and ancient part of our shared history. They reflect our deepest fears of the dark forest and the deep water, our boundless curiosity about the bones we dug from the earth, and our profound, enduring need to make sense of a vast and mysterious world. They are the very first maps we drew for the uncharted territories of our own imagination. So we turn the question over to you now. Which of these 30 legends resonated most deeply with your own sense of wonder? What is the name of the mythical creature from your own local folklore, the story whispered in your region about the thing that waits in the woods or swims in the lake? Share your favorite in the comments below, and if you have enjoyed this journey to the blurred line between myth and reality, be sure to subscribe for more explorations into the incredible mysteries of our past.